is
It wasn't.
it's a
Oh,
it's a
oh
strong
shit.
widow's peak. It's a
Oh shit.
strong
Mayor.
widow. You know what? It's my part.
What's going
It's
on,
the
Hey,
guys?
did you
part in
bring the
my
rose?
hair. I
Did you bring the
comb it to
rose?
the left,
Hey,
to
you
the
look
right,
great. You look
and
great.
that's how it goes. Okay.
We're
Hey,
ready. We're ready.
thank you.
Oh my
I
Can
god.
feel
we give this to the mayor
phenomenal.
for my time?
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes,
late.
yes.
I want to give it to
Okay,
her.
here we go.
Are we all ready?
Yes.
Oh, did Tommy gain some weight?
Hey, how you doing, Miss Judge? Hey, I
Yes,
want
Your
to bring
Honor.
this to you
Yes,
for
Your
the
Honor.
here. This is for the time I wasted. I'm so sorry.
I
My
appreciate it. Thank
apologies.
you.
No problem.
Looks like a fake rose.
Whatever, guy. Oh, excuse me. I mean, yeah.
It looks very fake.
Isn't that a bribe? I think he's
Um,
trying to win over their
all
judge.
right. Reminder, if everyone can speak louder than usual, that'd be great so we can hear each
Yes,
other.
Your Honor.
Um, I apologize for the delay. Mr. Vercetti had some issues.
Terrible. I'm so sorry, everybody. My true apologies.
Okay, let's get
IBS is
started.
very not nice.
Who's my marshal over here?
It's going to be State Trooper Isabel Sinclair.
Nice to meet you, Miss Sinclair.
Good evening. Oh, do I present? Okay.
Thank you, Miss Sinclair.
Miss Sinclair, you can get us started.
All right, everyone, please be seated. We will now start the case. PMA DOJ
I have
005
goosebumps because I'm gonna
Thomas
do a
Vercetti
bunch of stupid
versus
shit.
Mission Row Police Department.
Okay, Mr. Miller, do you have an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
May proceed.
Your Honor, tonight I want to remind everyone here that in the state of Los Santos, we believe in innocence until proven guilty. Tommy Vercetti and company are going to try to convince you and the audience that evidence was planted on him. However, through all the evidence now shared with all parties, there is no proof that officers or agents who serve the people of Los Santos planted evidence on Mr. Vercetti. Officers cooperated with Mr. Vercetti, they worked with Mr. Vercetti, and they assisted Mr. Vercetti and his team in order to allow these individuals to do their jobs, only to turn around and accuse these officers of corruption. There is no merit for these individuals' claim to corruption, and there is no motive for these officers to place this evidence on Mr. Vercetti. The officers on scene are some of the most respected and trusted officers in the police department,
Oh
and I'm
shit, he
sure
wrote
nothing but
stuff
honor
down.
and merit in their duties as such. It is in the court case today to uphold that these officers are not able to be found guilty. It is on Mr. Bakersfield and co. to provide the burden of proof. Through body cam and Mr. Vercetti's history, we will prove our officers are innocent. However, Mr. Bakersfield will not be able to prove that they are guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Bakersfield, do you have an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. Today we're here because the police have not proven within doubt that Mr. Tommy ever had those drugs on him. Today we're going to see a lack of information that shows that only until one police officer searched him that he then had drugs on him. And I close, Your Honor, that Mr. Tommy is a changed man working for the mayor. And, well, he didn't do this, and the police don't have enough proof to. And they know they didn't have enough proof. That's why they didn't actually charge him within the first place. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bakersfield. I understand that both sides have two witnesses.
Well, I have three, Your Honor. I have three. I'm sorry.
Oh, you
I have
have
a late
three.
one of the mayor.
All right. Since you have three, Mr. Bakersfield, who is going to be your first witness?
I call to the stand Mr. Tommy Vercetti.
Okay.
Damn, Tommy, you look good.
All
Hey,
right,
thank
Mr.
you, guy.
Vercetti, could you go ahead and raise your hand for me?
Yes, ma'am.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
All right.
Do I go? Is it time now? Yes, okay. Mr. Tommy, do you recall the day in question?
I definitely do.
What happened that day? How did it start?
It was an innocent thing going on at Pillbox that turned into a little bit more of a situation with Mr. McLean. The wild card over there started doing some nonsense. We wanted to have a conversation at the PD. We wanted to do an investigation, and things ended up into a bit more of a fiasco. They did try to comply after essentially pulling teeth, but you know, I feel as if this stuff was planted on me. I was pretty groomed before I went. I'm a changed man. I don't bring that type of stuff around. And then I had things taken off me that I was never charged with. It was a simple thing. We was just looking to have an investigation. I don't think they wanted that investigation, guy.
What did Mr. Vercetti? What did that entail? The investigation.
Just been a simple look through the business to make sure everything was on the up and up, to make sure the police was doing it correctly and not being, essentially a wild card like Mr. McLean over there. If you've seen my finger, you'd know.
Okay, can you show the court and everybody here your finger, please?
Yeah, this one. This is the one. Broke this thing on me twice.
Oh,
He just grabs it, he
Oh.
yanks it, and
Your Honor,
snaps it.
objection.
Oh
This is
every
speculation.
time.
There's
Oh.
no
Every
proof of
time.
this incident besides what they're saying.
Bingo, right?
Overruled. Continue, Mr. Baker's.
Well, and who broke your finger that many times that it looks like a question mark, Mr. Vercetti?
It was Mr. McLean.
Oh my lord! And that was the same fella that was there at the police station.
Yeah, he was the same guy there. Same guy. What are they? The new guys there that was running around. There's a lot of them. I feel as if one of those guys was the one that stuffed it on me.
And who invited you to come to PD?
It was Mr. McLean, and I believe who was there that day? I believe it was Axel.
And did Mr. McLean break any laws before getting to the police station?
Oh, absolutely. He ended up running over Bobby Brown. He tried to flee from the scene of that. After that happened, we watched the whole thing. There was a couple things that happened at the PD at the parking lot there, but that was well covered up.
And how was Mr. McLean sounding before you got searched there?
Oh well, I mean, at the PD, he damn near scared, or at the hospital, he damn near scared the shit out of me. I had to run away from the guy. I thought he was gonna try to break another finger on me.
How was
So
his?
when we finally came back, he came down a little bit when we busted out the notepads and the cameras on him.
So would you say that it might be advantageous for for Mr. McLean if you were to have drugs in your pocket that day, Mr. Tomley?
Oh yeah, it would have been a thing for him to have me, things I shouldn't have on me before I went in the PD.
And when they did you ever do you remember what you had in your pockets when you came there that day?
Yeah, I did end up having a firearm, which I did have a license to carry at the time. They did take both things off of me. I had just your essentials, you had some food, some some bandages, some random stuff. I'm known to carry random, but other than that, no
Nothing
illegal items.
Okay, thank you.
No illegal items.
and when they
No bags of methamphetamine.
and when they charged you, Mr. Tommy, what they charged you with?
I ended up getting a fleeing and eluding charge for running around the front of the place. They had me on a scare, man. I didn't trust these guys, so a bit of fight or flight came over me, and I ended up running around a circle. And I had to calm down and realize there was nothing I can do. I was getting took down by crooked cops.
Interesting. And at the end of the day, they never charged you if they found drugs on you. They never charged you.
Yeah, with that amount, you would think that I'd get nailed for trafficking. What is it? Cultivation. There's a couple other charges that come with that amount.
And do you know
There's
why?
like 4 charges that come with that amount.
Do you have any idea why they would do that?
Essentially to derail the investigation of the police department. We was there to do that such thing after McLean showed us that there might be some instability, and after that, I think they wanted to make sure that we wasn't getting in that building. I think we were shut down.
That's all my questions, John. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does he quit? Okay.
Mr. Tommy, would you mind stepping back behind the
Mr.
stand?
Vercetti, he's gonna cross-examine you.
How are you doing today, Mr. Vercetti?
I'm doing good, guy. Yourself?
I'm doing quite all right. So, Mr. Vercetti, can you please state your name and your occupation again?
Yeah, I'm Tommy Vercetti. I'm the planning director for the mayor's office.
All right, Mr. Vercetti, can you go into again why you were at Mission Row that day on the incident you were talking about?
Yeah, we were actually looking to do an investigation there. That's where it started. It was going to be a simple talk to some doctors, maybe see what was on the up and up so far as the food and the care of the patients, just stuff there. And unfortunately, we had met Mr. McLean in the parking lot. Never
All
made
right,
it inside.
so Mr. Vercetti, from what I can see from this body cam that we have had provided to us by Mr. McLean, he was asking for paperwork. He was asking for the reason why you were trying to enter the police station, which is by no means, as far as I'm concerned, and you can argue if you would like, an issue. You know, we don't want everyone just being able to walk into the restricted parts of the police station. So, how was Mr. McLean exactly trying to stop you from doing your job, besides asking for the appropriate paperwork?
Oh, we had given the appropriate paperwork at first. I don't think he believed the credentials that were given, but he was trying to essentially slow the process. We had to go through every hoop possible to get the guy to believe and the police station to believe we were there on the up and up. We even had the mayor and the vice mayor come down to essentially help that process.
All right.
Derailing, it seemed like.
And Mr. Vercetti, why were you patted down before entering the police station?
All individuals were patted down that were non-PD from coming into the police station. Everybody had to get checked.
So they were letting you into the police station, Mr. Vercetti. They were willingly working with you to allow you to continue your inspection.
Yeah, but I do feel that there was an ulterior motive to have letting us in that building because essentially we were never allowed in the building. We never.
Sorry,
made
Mr. Vercetti.
doors.
What your feelings or proof?
There's proof in there, man. I had guys shooting at us. I had things put in my pocket. I was never charged with. Took it.
And where is the proof that
cells.
something was put in your pocket, Mr. Vercetti? Because
You
again,
know, the killer is it's not there in that footage, but there's also no footage of it being taken off. Because the guy in the cell is the one that actually took it off of me, not the one that was
well, we're
with
not
the
talking
camera.
about what happened after you were patted down, Mr. Vercetti. We're talking about how those drugs ended up. But to continue, to change the subject, you said you have a history with Mr. John McClane. Why, if you have these issues with Mr. McClane, were they never brought to the police department?
Oh, you know, over the time, it's just been a small occurrence, and then you know, the guy started breaking my finger. I don't know how much help I'm gonna get when he's got a cell full of cops letting him do it.
Do you have proof of this besides a broken finger? How do we know that
I mean, do
wasn't
you
stuck
need
in a
to see my
corridor?
finger? I swear to God.
I can see your finger, Mr. Vercetti. However, what I can't see is John breaking it.
Objection,
My
Your Honor.
God.
This is harassment.
I swear to
Overruled,
God.
Mr. Bakersfield. We're just trying
I'm
to get to
telling
the
you,
bottom of the broken finger.
there's
Yes,
enough
Your
cops
Honor.
down in the city that know my finger's been broken by that man. They've all seen it. It's all happened.
Mr.
By that
Vercetti,
time,
do you
I'm
know?
searched and I'm things that I could do anything with. I have no phone. I can't record it. Nobody has any proof in the cells. We're all naked, damn near.
So, Mr. Vercetti, let me ask you this: do you know how many officers have been sent for corruption in the police department? Do you know how serious that is taken in the police department?
Oh, absolutely. I understand. I understand all of the, but I do feel that
So,
there
if
was
you
a
understand,
zone
Mr.
in there.
Vercetti, then you would have come to the chief of police, Eugene Rowe, any of
We're
the
still working in,
captains
hey.
in the police department, right? Sheriff Breeze could have handled the situation. So, if Mr. McLean over there, Sergeant McLean, who has been nothing but an amazing FTO and an amazing officer and protected the city, broke your finger, why did you choose not to report it? Is it because he
said
didn't break it?
yourself. You said it yourself. He's a sergeant. If I report that, they're not going to believe it. And then he's
That's
just
not
going to
true.
go and come on now.
We have fired
No,
plenty of sergeants for
I'm here.
corruption.
I'm fighting for my life over bags of methamphetamines put in my pockets. I would definitely not. They'd fight me tooth and nail. Tooth and nail for the McLean. I know they would.
Without proof, of course we would. However, I have one last question for you, Mr. Vercetti. On your criminal record, it is very obvious that you have a history with drugs. Why have you never gotten your record clean if you're a quote unquote changed man? Why have you chosen to keep that?
Record clean. I was
By
told
who?
that I had to essentially really prove myself, and this is the start. I was trying to do a start. I was trying to show something, and then I got bags tossed on me, and this it's almost gone to the waste. I never got charged It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how to take this situation other than it was corruption.
Have you ever had employees, Mr. Vercetti? Have you owned a
Yeah,
business or anything?
I've worked for a place yet.
Have you ever been a mentor to the employees of that business?
Absolutely.
Have your new employees made mistakes, Mr. Vercetti?
I do believe everybody makes mistakes, my guy.
So are you saying that rookies should not be allowed to make mistakes like the ones processing you with the errors in the report?
I do believe those are some serious errors, though. If you had guys running around the streets with drugs in their pockets, not getting charged from, you're all gonna have a lot of drug addicts back on the street in no time.
We may, Mr. Vercetti, but the point still stands. Do you expect people to make mistakes? And are those mistakes illegal? How does a rookie who does not know what they're doing make a mistake and then suddenly it's corruption?
Hey, the guy misses
Where is the
100
proof, Mr.
bags. I
Vercetti?
feel that that's a big mistake, my guy. That's almost. How could you look past that?
The issue isn't the size of the mistake, Mr. Vercetti. Answer the question. Is a mistake corruption?
Mistake corruption at that level, yes.
There we go.
I disagree, but that's up to you. No more
There we
questions, Your Honor.
go.
Mr. Vercetti, you may step down.
Yes, miss. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr.
That guy's a
Bakersfield, your next
ballbuster.
witness.
I called it the stains, the mayor.
All right.
May Ricky, I forget to owe you a hand tip and the right hand and all that.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Mayor?
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, if you could raise
Yep.
your hands for me.
All right.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. So help me God.
All right. He is sworn in, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall, take a seat.
Thank you. Nice chair, by the way.
Thank you.
Mayor, it's absolutely delightful to see you. Unfortunate in these turn of events. Do you remember the day in question, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I remember it pretty clearly. Yeah.
And what do you remember about those span of events?
Well, I remember rolling down to the police department. Got a call from I think it was either you or Tommy. I'm not sure which one, but got a call to come down there as my planning director and part of his team was going down to inspect a little bit of how PD was running. You know, go and look at the sprinkler system, fire extinguishers, make sure everything's safe for the officers there. Yada yada yada. I roll up and I just see citizens in just extreme state of fear, and really at the center of the small crowd was Officer McLean.
Interesting. And what did he? How did he seem to you?
Well, at first he seemed kind of calm, you know, saying, "Okay, we will allow an inspection after these different demands or whatever." And then I don't know what really set him off, but he just seemed to get he really flew off the handle. He started yelling, and he went over into
my.
the security booth,
Go
and
on.
he did one of the scariest yells I've ever heard. You know, it was like a yell of just pure anger and madness, and it
Did he-
scared me, honestly.
Now, do you think you could recreate this screen for the courtroom?
Yeah, it was okay. Sorry, it might be a little
This
loud.
is for the go ahead.
Ah!
Oh why? Oh why? I think
It was something like that.
It
Yeah,
was louder.
I almost peed myself there just now.
yeah. It was, but it was way more fierce and loud.
Now, was this scheduled inspection, was that approved by the mayorship?
Yeah, absolutely. We've certified the planning director to inspect not only a few of the businesses, but also the police department, as well as Pillbox.
And talking to your employees as you came there that day, what was the initial contact of the inspection of the outside facilities?
Oh, the initial contact that was informed to me was that security cameras weren't working outside. There were some issues with cleanliness, even on the outside of the building. Paint was pretty far gone. And even McLean himself, from what I had heard from you guys, said those things to you, and that's what prompted a little bit of a further investigation.
Okay, and all that chaos, do you think it's likely at all that police might have been able to slide some drugs into Mr. Tommy's pocket?
Oh, absolutely. There was so many police officers there and so many yellow vests. Look, I don't want to blame anyone who's brand new to the police department and expect that someone would do anything corrupt like that. But under the power of somebody who can, the anger that I saw, anyone who's under the power of that kind of leadership, yeah, there's no telling what could happen.
Can you continue about what happened that day? I told her. Go ahead. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it just we were going in on the inspection. I was there and I was just going to join and kind of shadow and see how things would go. We were about to go in and then they searched all of us and we knew they were going to search us and that's totally fine. Totally understand that. Make sure everyone's safe, And we got searched. Everyone got searched and all of a sudden Tommy gets searched. They set him aside, not away from us, but with us. And then they search us again, and then they send him over to the side, and then arrest him. And of course, he was taken back. He's there to do a job, and all of a sudden, I wouldn't really call it fleeing and eluding. I would call it more of he was just a little bit taken back, as he should be.
And did anything else extremely crazy happen?
Well, right after that, yeah, there was a shooting.
Oh my! And who was shot?
You.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it really seemed like acts of God and craziness were happening, so that I mean, we weren't able to get in, and but hey, some things happen, crazy things do happen, but it seemed like to me that there was a big hesitation for us going into the building.
Now, see, I got two more questions for you. How would you describe Mr. Tommy as your employee for the city?
Oh, he's been working hard. Look, I know that Tommy has a past, but as part of our hire a felon program and helping out rehouse felons and bring them back onto their feet and change their ways, he's been doing a great job. A really great job. He's really wanted to turn things around. He's been dressing better, and honestly, I think he's been a great impact on the city as a whole.
I agree. Good job, Mr. Tommy. Well, last question is, if in your experience, Mr. May, if the police make a mistake that's extremely critical when they're charging somebody for a crime, isn't it up on the police to, let the case go because they've made a mistake?
Well, it comes down to leadership, and everything falls on the leaders. And if something was missed, and as I've heard that something was missed in Tommy's processing or booking, that falls on the leadership. Maybe it's a training problem, or God forbid it would be a corruption thing. But that's a big word to throw around.
That is a big word. That is a big word. But that is also a lot of drugs that they put on. I mean that they find. Well, that's all the questions I have.
Mr. Millard.
Thank you, Your Honor. How are you doing today, Mayor Marshall?
Feeling good, looking halfway decent.
I agree. You look stunning. So let me ask you something, Mr. Marshall. You said that you had planned this inspection at the police station, correct?
Negative. I don't micromanage, my employees, and Tommy Vercetti took it upon himself to, as the planning director, to kind of make that appointment. I got called down there because he wasn't being allowed in, and they weren't believing him that he is an employee of the mayoral office.
So let me ask you something then. If I came down to the mayor's office and I claimed to be a vice mayor,
okay,
and let's say I have a large criminal record, correct?
Okay.
And at that point, would you just believe me, or would you expect one of your, let's say, one of your directors to believe that I was said vice mayor?
I was under the impression that he showed him some credentials and whatnot.
Is it possible to fake credentials, Mr. Marshall?
Well,
could those credentials have been faked?
Is it
especially
possible-
by
Okay,
a
I'll
known
answer your
criminal
question.
with 2 counts of terrorism and other charges and a known criminal record. Is it possible that those charges have been faked? Those credentials have been faked.
Yeah, anything can be faked, but I mean, if you're gonna, just go by that standard, your badges could all be fake, and we don't have to pull over for you.
I agree. You should always question when an officer pulls you over. So my sergeant over there, Sergeant McLean, then goes through proper SOPs to make sure that everything is in order, and you are called down to validate the credentials. Correct? That is how it went. Basically, you were
Well, I
called
got a
down to
call from-
validate.
I got a call from my employee for that.
Yes, but
I
you were
didn't
called
get a
down
call
to
from an officer.
validate. You were called down to validate credentials. Correct? By employee or officer.
By employee, yes.
And then once you were down there, did Sergeant McLean allow entrance into the building after a standard SOP search?
He did. I mean, it seemed like he had to get talked down by some of his other officers, but yeah, he did.
So Mr. McLean did cooperate once he knew that everything was in order and proper. Again, a known criminal is asking for permission into PD, in which we house weapons, ammunition, armor, asking to inspect said areas that we do not normally let prior felons in. But he eventually relented and let you guys into the building, correct?
We did not go into the building, no.
Well, at least search to enter said building.
Yes.
All right. So, next question, Mr. Marshall. You've stated that corruption is a very big term to throw around, correct?
Absolutely.
So, at any point, did you watch an officer place drugs on Mr. Vercetti? Did you see them slip something in his back pocket, front pocket, work case, anything like that?
No, I did not.
All right. Do you know of anyone who may have the intent to do so, have a reason besides letting you guys into the building, which, as we've already discussed, was already allowed?
Well, I don't know what all the intentions of the officers are individually, if that's what you're asking.
So there's no known intentions as far as you are concerned.
Not that as far as I'm concerned, no. The only intention I would see is that they didn't want us to go into the building and inspect things because there's something they're hiding.
So just to go through this one more time, you were eventually allowed access into the building after a search, which at this point we then found an illegal substance on Mr. Vercetti. You did not see anyone place an illegal substance on Mr. Vercetti, and you do not have any knowledge of the intention of someone framing Mr. Vercetti. That is correct. Yes, Mr. Marshall?
Yeah, I think that's all correct. Yeah.
All right, perfect. No further questions, Your Honor.
You may step down, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you.
Mr. Bakersfield, who's your last witness?
It's me, ma'am.
Miss Sinclair, can you call him to the stand, please?
All right. Mr. Bakersfield, to the stand, please. All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
Yes.
help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You sworn in.
Did we do it
All
like
right,
last
Mr.
time?
Bakersfield, how are you going to do this since you're representing Mr. Vercetti?
Well, I guess I just give my recollection of the event.
Okay, go right ahead.
So this is yes. So the day started where me and Mr. Tommy were driving, talking about our very brand new jobs. Turning a new leaf, not doing nothing bad. And we were driving down to the hospital. And we said we're just trying to see maybe they needed a couple, fixer uppers in the hospital, things to help them out. We figured maybe if we go down there, we get to the bottom of it on the regulations. It mean Tommy might be able to save the day. So here we are. We jump out of our car. First thing that happens, Mr. McLean just starts screaming at us across the parking lot, and we were just so scared for our lives, we kind of ducked behind the car real quick. Mr. Tommy jumped down like 4 flights of stairs to try to get away from the man. Then we realized he wasn't going to tase us or break our fingers, so we came back, and the man, challenged us to... he had some issues with his uniform, ma'am, so we started, writing tickets on him for, improper safety protocols and such. And, well, he said he challenged us to come down to the PD station. He's the one who invited us, said maybe it might be good give it a look-see down there. So we get down there, and then he starts yelling again at Mr. Tommy, and there's 6 police there, just a whole mess of them, ma'am, all 6 of them. They were saying no at first, and then eventually they said yes after they took the sweet time. It's all on, it should be all on body cam from the police's side if it's there, since there's 6 police, 6 different angles of the whole thing, and at the end of it, I'd kind of just get, my boys tell me I was shot in the hands of the police. I was being protected by the police, but I was shot down anyways, and that's why I have the metal plating that I showed you that one day that you were very mad at me about showing you.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, Mr. Tommy went away for 20 months because apparently he fled and eluded, and that's it. But then they also said that he had drugs, but they didn't arrest him for the drugs. And so that's what my day was like that day.
Definitely interesting, Mr. Bakersfield. Thank you for the information. Mr. Miller, do you have any questions for Mr. Bakersfield?
Oh, I always have questions for Mr. Bakersfield, Your Honor.
Let's hear it, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Bakersfield, can you please state your full name for the record?
Peter Bakersfield.
What was that, Mr. Bakersfield? Your full name, including middle name, please.
Peter Gertrude Bakersfield.
Thank you, Mr. Bakersfield. So you said Mr. McLean was shouting at you from across a parking lot, correct?
That is true.
So, Mr. Bakersfield, if someone is across a parking lot from you, how do you expect them to get, how do you expect them to talk to you without shouting?
Well, the thing is he kept coming closer and closer, but his tone didn't change. It stayed loud and angry.
So you didn't talk about a loud and angry tone, Mr. Bakersfield. You just said that he was shouting across a parking lot, which seems normal to
Usually
me.
shouting's not happy.
I mean,
you could say maybe
does it
he
ever
was
say,
howling, and that's more delightful.
do officers have to be happy at all times, Mr. Bakersfield? Is that a requirement as far as you are concerned?
Well, if they're instigating aggression, I think that would be no, they can't do that.
How is that instigating aggression, Mr. Bakersfield, if he's just, talking loudly to you? And your assumption of anger might be something different than ours, correct?
We had a history with the man. I think it would, with our history and me watching firsthand Mr. Tommy getting his finger broken twice by the man, I think I know by now that he is a threat to us.
So we keep talking about this finger, Mr. Bakersfield, but it's amazing how this only comes up once you are trying to accuse officers of corruption.
Well, it's hard to take a man to trial over a broken finger, but as it accumulates over time and his finger looks like one of them question marks on the Riddler's outfit, then yeah, it does become kind of evidence that the police are abusive.
Yes, but not evidence with proof, Mr. Bakersfield, correct?
Well, I mean,
there's no proof of this.
I watched it, and that's two people saying they seen it.
So here's Mr. Bakersfield. I've got that. Okay, perfect.
Just
so my
like-
next question,
yes,
Mr.
just like the
Bakersfield.
drugs in
No,
his
that's
pocket.
okay, Mr. Bakersfield. That's actually on a body cam evidence, Mr. Bakersfield. It's not hearsay.
Well,
Next question, Mr. Bakersfield, please, Mr. Bakersfield. So Mr. McLean invited you down to Mission Row Police Department. That is what I just heard, correct?
Absolutely.
So this individual that we have been making assumptions on, defaming his character.
Hey, he invited us to the front, and then he
All
said we
these
couldn't come inside.
speculations. He didn't say that you couldn't come inside after he cleared all the proper procedures.
Well, he said no a bunch of times and then changed at the end. So yeah,
But he
said,
invited you down there.
and then he said no, you can't come inside, and then there was lots of pushing on our part, and then he finally actually it was another cop, I believe, that said yes.
Mr. Bakersfield, Mr. McLean over there, again following SOPs, has made
told
sure
us we
that
couldn't
you
go
had
in.
the correct until he knew that the mayor, right, your boss, a man without a criminal record, well, a heavy criminal record, cleared said entrance into the police department that you are his employees, and at which point he did allow you to be searched to enter the police department. Correct, Mr. Bakersfield?
Yes,
or
but
no?
there was a lot of
Nope,
contact on
just
the
a
police.
yes, Mr. Bakersfield.
There was a
So,
lot of contact
Mr.
from the
McLean,
police before they.
As I'm hearing, Mr. McLean invited you down to the police department, as the mayor said in his previous testimony, then allowed you guys to search the exterior, was appalled by the condition of the police department, and then worked with you willingly once he knew that the proper paperwork was in place and the proper
Willingly? I don't
administration
know
was in
about
place. Please let me
willingly.
finish, Mr. Bakersfield. He then allowed you to be searched to make sure there was no weapons or anything that could cause issues within the police department, and then allowed you to enter the building until Mr. Vercetti was found with illegal drugs on his person.
I disagree.
That is correct, right, Mr. Bakersfield?
No, that is not correct.
What part of that was false?
Him willfully wanting us to be inside the police station. That's what it.
He may
that's
not
that
have wanted
part.
to, but did he not allow you to enter after a pat down until Mr. Vercetti was
Well,
found
that's-
with illegal meth?
But that's not. You said, do I agree with that first statement? I said no because it wasn't willfully.
Then do you agree with the edited statement? He still would have allowed you in if it was not for Mr. Vercetti's drugs.
I'd agree with the statement that says he took his sweet goddamn time, told us no a bunch, and then finally, as it took the mayor getting down there to say open up the doors, then that's when he opened the doors. Yes, I would agree with that statement.
Let me ask you something, Peter. Would you allow cops into your house to unlawfully search it?
Hell no.
So why would we allow known felons into a police station or armory to willfully inspect it without the proper paperwork, such as,
we had the
a
proper
search warrant?
paperwork.
And again, could that paperwork have been forged? Yes or no, Mr. Bakersfield? Is that paperwork forgeable?
That doesn't make any sense to the argument, though.
It does.
Could the warrant be forged?
It could. You're correct.
So does everybody get to call down the judge every time to make sure that she says yes, it's signed, or do they have to listen to the police on it?
Well, standardly, you would allow an attorney or someone else to come and pass that warrant on to you.
So it wouldn't be the first person. It wouldn't be like the mayor, or the judge. It would be somebody else, right?
So let me ask you something. If the judge herself came and served you your warrant, would you then allow the police to search your house?
Well, I mean, if I was McLean, yes.
So when the mayor comes down and finally gives, that proof, because this whole case is about proof, that proof
That's
to
not how
allow
it
you
works,
into the
though.
police department.
But Miss Amy would never come down. I remember getting raided, and she didn't come down.
So again, Mr. Bakersfield, felons in our armory, he eventually allowed you in once the
Employees
proper
of the
SOPs,
mayor doing their job.
and the mayor never contacted said chief of police, the owner of Mission Row, to have this inspection. You think that would be,
They're
very nice that you guys could have reached out?
That's hearsay.
Was he contacted, Mr. Bakersfield?
You tell me.
I don't know, because he never said anything about an
Well, if
inspection.
you
so
don't
I would
know,
assume
then
not.
I guess you're just speaking on nonsense. Then.
So, Mrs. Bakersfield, just to finish up, Mr. McLean did eventually allow access. He was concerned about the outside of the police department, meaning that he was willing to work with you gentlemen, and he was the one that invited you down there to said police department.
I don't remember because somebody shot me in the police's hands.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Bakersfield, you may step down.
Thank you,
You
Your
will have
Honor.
you will have the opportunity to cross-examine the DA's witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Miller, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to add that Cadet Will Burrows is able to attend, so we will have 3 witnesses if that's okay with you.
Nice.
Yep. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're going to start by calling Sergeant Apollo to the stand, please. And ADA Chris Moores will be handling questioning for Apollo.
All right.
All right, Mr. Pollock, could you raise your hands for me? Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you sworn in.
Let me ask you a couple questions when it comes to sentencing people and the stipulations on that. So when it comes to sentencing, are we allowed to be lenient in any way, shape, or form?
Yes, sir. We are more than allowed to be lenient.
And what are the stipulations on leniency?
It all depends on previous infractions, on the scope of the situation. As you know, every situation that happens in the police department is handled with the utmost professionalism that's allowed to happen, essentially.
All right.
Do you have an extra
Let's say,
pencil or
for
something?
instance, somebody's being super civil about something. You know, how much on average would you say you take off?
We got a peeping
from
Tom
somebody's
outside the
sentence?
window of the courthouse. I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
Give me an example of what they're being sentenced with.
Let's say for something as simple as fleeing and eluding, and let's say they were recklessly driving.
Do they have any priors?
They have 2 priors for running red lights, and that's about it.
So in this case, as LEOs and police officers, we're required to be problem solvers, not problem starters. For someone that is, relatively law-abiding citizen, is what I would say. We can take some of the fine off, be a little more lenient with that stuff.
Alrighty. And let's say in, the stipulations of, drug possession and distribution, what exactly were you trained for the charges of that?
We have different classifications for the amount of drugs that were in possession and if they were caught on the scene cultivating drugs of any known
Alrighty.
drug location.
And this was presented to the honor. We have been given a brick of meth. How much exactly does a brick of meth contain, Mr. Paulo?
I would say a little bit over 100 grams.
Alrighty. And, could I possibly hand this over to you? They ask
Yes, sir.
about your opinions on the weight.
Look at how normal
There
they
you go,
are with
boss.
those drugs.
Jesus.
So how heavy would you say that is?
Yeah, I would say it's well over 100 grams. This is not something that would go unnoticed. I have to hold it with 2 hands.
All right. And let's say, for instance, somebody was to, kind of slide that in your back pocket, whether you be, in handcuffs or in the back of a car. Would you be able to notice that weight difference on your person?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. I'm good.
Mr. Bakersfield?
Yes, Your Honor. How's it going, Mr. Paulo?
Good afternoon, Mr. Bakersfield. How are you?
Oh, I'm just delicious. And Mr. Apollo, who's the arresting officer on this
Repeat
case?
that. Radio check.
It's going to be Cadet Mike Lamigo.
And
Radio
Mr.
outside
He
the
was a
courthouse?
he's a rookie, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you guys have
And who's
three?
the approving officer on
I
that?
can follow that, brother. No, you're good.
I'm
Do you have
not
the
exactly
TNT?
sure on that one. I was not there.
Your Honor.
who has the TNT, man.
Your Honor, it would be Eduardo Chupador.
There we go. Okay.
And
Okay.
he's not here today?
That is correct, Your Honor.
You say it, Billy.
Now,
What'd you say, Mike?
how many, well, actually, how many police
I've
were
been out
there
here
that
just
day
bringing us loud
at
as
the
fuck on
police
my house,
station
my
that you
foot.
can
You can
remember?
stay there. Are you sure, brother?
Let's see here.
I feel much more comfortable
Well
if you were in
over
the position I
at
am right
least
now,
6 officers.
Six
in the parking lot.
officers. Oh, okay, I would agree with that. And now, how many body cams are you aware that were turned in for this court case?
I believe all officers involved with the arresting of Tommy Vercetti.
Is that true, Your Honor?
Can you repeat that?
I said, is he aware of how many body cams were turned in by the police there that day? And he said all of them.
Well, I'm not sure if he was informed, but no, I let you know that his own body cam was corrupted, and I did not get a chance to see what was going on.
So you got 5 out of the 6, is that correct?
I only got 2 body cams.
2
Your Honor, if
body
I
cams
may,
out of the
we were
6.
subpoenaed for 3 body cams.
I
Sergeant
did.
Stout, you're on prison break.
I subpoenaed Mr. Rockefeller's
Yeah.
body cam. I subpoenaed Mr. McLean's body cam, and I subpoenaed Mr. Burroughs' body cam. I was given Mr. Burroughs and Mr. McLean's. However, I did not get Mr. Rockefeller's body cam.
Interesting. Let the record note that. Interesting. How come you didn't have your police body cam on that day, huh, Mr. Rockefeller?
Yes, sir. I can tell you everything that happened. So
No, that's not the. Hold
unfortunately-
on, that's not the question. I said, how come
Go
your
ahead.
body cam wasn't on?
My body cam was destroyed.
Interesting. And whose job is it to provide the information for an arrest?
Could you re-explain the question?
Let me see here. Whose job is it to provide the body? So if there's 3 of them that were requested and only 2 of them are here, isn't it up to a reasonable data? Could there have been an angle on your camera that we didn't see?
So what happened was, my body cam burst into flames after a scene with the East Side Ballas, where myself and the chief of police were in Air One, and we were being shot at essentially, and a bullet hit the
Hold on.
tank
I don't
of
need
Air One, and we
excuses. I mean,
exploded.
so you just don't have it. And
I
that
do not have it. Correct.
okay. No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Rockefeller. You may step down. Mr. Miller.
Your Honor, we're going to call Will Burrows to the stand, and again, ADA Morris will be taking the questioning.
All right.
All right, Mr. Burrows, if you raise your hands for me. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right.
How's it going, Mr. Burrows?
It's going good.
Alrighty, so a couple quick questions. How long have you been a part of the police department / Department of Corrections?
In total, including Department of Corrections, I've been a part of the force for about, I'd say, 5 months. I've been with PD for about a month.
Alrighty. What is one thing that's drilled into your head during the FTO process?
A lot of learning. I'd say the main factor is honesty, integrity, most of all, keeping everybody safe, protecting our city.
Alrighty. And would you say that you're 100% excelling in all parts of being a police officer at this time?
To the best of my ability, yes. I believe that we are all human and make errors, but I think I'm giving it my all.
Alrighty. And with your FTOs, do you believe that they're taking you through a process that teaches you everything that you need to know in the best way, shape, or form?
I do.
And how long have you been in this FTO stage?
For about a month.
Alrighty. During this process of FTOing, how many reports have you done for the police department?
I would say close to 100, a little bit over.
Alrighty. And during those reports, have you been corrected on any mistakes that you've made within those reports?
I have, yes.
Alrighty. I have no more questions at this time.
Mr. Bakersfield.
How's it going today, young pup?
It's going good, sir.
Now, so remind me your name again for the record.
Will Burrows.
Mr. Burrows, do you remember the day in question?
I do.
Okay, and how many days have you been on the force on that day?
I cannot say for exact, but I would say close to 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So you're just starting off. Haven't even gotten the first paycheck yet, really. You wait until the end of the month. Just sit in that old apartment. How many cops were there that day?
On the scene?
On the scene.
I would guess about 6.
6, okay. And with 6, we have 2 body cams provided as information out of the 3 requested. Do you think, out of those 6 people, do you think there's an actual possibility, if there's no body cams, do you think there's a possibility that a police officer could have slid off just a whole mess of
Your
drugs
Honor,
onto
objection.
somebody?
This is leading and speculation.
Sustained, Mr. Bakersfield, please rephrase the question.
Do you think that you have all the information provided to know for sure that Mr. Tommy was innocent or guilty that day?
Again, this is speculation, Your Honor. Objection. The rookie can't answer this.
He knows the information that we have and what's not here, y'all know.
I'm gonna ask you to rephrase that question once more, Mr. Bakersfield.
Okay, I'm gonna change questions up here, y'all know. Now, so what did you find on Mr. Tommy when you got into his pockets that day?
I found a MK2 pistol, which he did have a license for. Found 100 grams about of meth, and then more miscellaneous items such as a radio, a bobby pin. All the other things were all.
And you charged him for fling and alluding, but not the brick at all. How come? Was the president for that? Hello?
Mr. Burroughs?
Mr. Burroughs. Well, cola break. Let me. I got a cola with me.
Mr. Burroughs, are you feeling okay?
I hope I'm feeling better now.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect. To answer your question, no, I did not charge him.
How come? What was the precedent on that?
I was attending to another suspect at the time.
So you found an entire brick on the man and you don't charge him at all?
Correct. He was passed to a different officer for processing.
But you're the one who signed the arrest warrant, or the for the actual arrest. You signed off on it. That was your paperwork.
My job at that time was to search all individuals entering the building that are not a part of PD. At that point, after that, I went back to attending to my suspect, and Mr. Tommy was passed off to a different officer.
So you're the arresting officer, but you didn't do the paperwork for it.
Correct.
And who did the paperwork for it?
Cadet Lamigo.
Did he even sign that paperwork?
I don't have the for certain answer for you for that, so I cannot say.
Do we have the arresting paperwork?
You're gonna give me 1 second. I'll pull up the paperwork.
All right.
All right. As he's searching that up, is there any history you're aware of between Mr. McLean and Mr. Vercetti?
There is not.
None at all. So, did you experience at all Mr. McLean screaming that day in question, like the mayor had said he talked about?
I believe that part of Mr. McLean is he is a very vocal person. I don't think it is any way of an intent of intimidation or aggression.
Interesting. Okay.
Your Honor, Mike Lamigo was the arresting officer, which means he was the one who sent processing.
And what was his rank?
How is this just founded today?
It was supplied in the official paperwork sent over by the subpoena.
Again, what was the rank?
I believe he is a rookie, correct, Morse?
At the time, yes, a cadet.
And wasn't there from what I understand, a supervising officer needs to approve?
Yes, Your Honor, as we said, it was Eduardo Chupador. It was the approval for said arrest. The rookie who sent processing was Mike Lamigo, and Will Burroughs wrote the report as he was the one who searched Mr. Vercetti.
All right. Continue, Mr. Baker.
So, Mr. Burroughs, other than you actually, with your name on the paperwork, are any of the arresting officers here today?
Yes.
And who is that?
Sergeant McLean was on duty at the time with us, and Sergeant Apollo Rockefeller.
But the fellas who did the paperwork, are either of them fellas here?
Negative.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step down, Mr. Burrows.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Your Honor, we'd like to call John McLean to the stand.
Hello, Mr. McLean. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you sworn in.
Mr. McLean, can you state your full name, rank, and position within the police department?
My name is Sergeant John McLean of the LSPD.
All right, Mr. McLean. What was happening on the day in question in regards to both the OSHA and the mayor's office?
You know, the mayor and actually it was the vice mayor and a couple of members of the health and food safety department and also the planning department were looking to take an inspection of MRPD.
All right, Mr. McLean. And will you cooperate with the mayor and company, keeping in mind our SOPs on felons entering the restricted parts of the police station?
Yes, I believe I was.
And what are our SOPs when it comes to individuals entering the restricted portions of Mission Row?
At any point in time, a civilian is a non-badged member of the public, is attempting to enter the cordoned off areas of MRPD. They are to be searched for any type of weapons that might harm officers and or any suspects or detainees that are currently at MRPD.
All right. And Mr. McLean, what is your history with Mr. Tommy Vercetti?
Mr. Tommy and myself, we have had a couple of run-ins. I have arrested him a couple of times. You know, he is a known felon of the city. Other than that, we are cordial with one another, I would like to believe. I like to frequent his restaurant at times. They have amazing cannolis. And, you know, beyond that, we don't really have much of a relationship.
All right. Thank you. What is your opinion on corruption as an officer, Mr. McLean?
It makes me sick to my stomach, sir. Corruption is a scourge to the city, and it is a stain upon the badge that I have hanging over my neck, sir. I will not stand for it, and I will follow upon any corruption charges that are levied upon myself or any of my officers, which I have done in the past.
Thank you, John. So we've heard a lot about how our rookies have made mistakes today with their processing, correct? How are
Yes,
we
sir.
fixing this? Because, you know, in the last week and a half, especially since this case has come to light, we've had a lot of changes. What are we doing? What are we implementing to improve?
First and foremost, we want to ensure that we have proper paper trails during the booking and arrest of suspects. Any type of allegations that are levied upon myself or any of my fellow officers are followed up and taken seriously. We want to make sure that all of the allegations and or evidence that we have against a suspect are documented. And we're trying to do a better job of the paperwork within MRPD so that if something does reach to a level of being brought up to this fine court, we are always going to be above board, sir.
Thank you, John. And last question. So, what purpose would the police department have, in your professional opinion, as a high-ranking officer in the police force, to plant evidence on a suspect and then to not charge them?
From where I stand, absolutely none, sir.
So there would be no reason for us to plant evidence on Mr. Vercetti when we would have left the rest of the company and to the police department if those drugs, even if those drugs were found. Would you have allowed the OSHA inspection to continue aside from Mr. Vercetti?
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that question?
Would you have allowed the OSHA search to continue excluding Mr. Vercetti once those drugs were found? Would it have prohibited you from allowing the inspection to continue?
No, sir, that would not have prohibited me from allowing the search to continue.
So those drugs,
I apologize.
So those drugs being on Mr. Vercetti did not hamper that inspection in any way, shape, or form.
Not at all, sir.
Your witness, Bakersfield.
Mr. McLean.
Yes, Gertrude.
Mr. McLean, listen. Ex-Mayor Bakersfield here for you, all right? Listen, how important is it for you as a police officer to make sure your paperwork is on point, that it's correct?
On a scale of 1 to 10, sir, it'd be a 9.7 out of 10.
9.7. It's got to be perfect almost every time. And how important is it to you back up that information you got with body cam footage that you wear as a police officer?
That would be a 10 out of 10, sir.
10 out of 10. And how would you feel if you somehow didn't have your body cam footage?
Well, let's feel as if that's a loaded question, sir.
How
you know,
so?
if it well, you know, if I personally did not have my body cam, I think that would be a complete dereliction of duty.
Dereliction of duty.
However, sir, I'm not done with my statement, sir. However, there are exigent circumstances that might lead to myself or one of my officers to not be able to provide body cam footage. In that case, I would be willing to allow it. However, it is a rare occasion when that happens.
Okay. Dereliction of duty. Got it. Okay. So, Mr. McLean, you said you had history with Mr. Vercetti. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand. How do you mean when you say history with Mr. Vercetti? What do you mean by history, sir?
What history? Have you met the man before?
I have arrested him on numerous occasions previously, sir.
And have you ever broken his finger before? Do you recall? Remember that you swore on the Bible and all that.
Sir, under the rights afforded to me by the Constitution of the United States of America, I'm gonna have to plead the fifth.
Plead the fifth. Okay, got it. Hey, Mr. McLean, have you in your 10 years of working for the police station, have you ever been put on leave or restricted from your duty?
Yes, sir.
And what for?
Sir, I do not believe I am authorized to disclose the reason
Your Honor?
for which I was suspended.
Your Honor.
Mr. McLean, answer the question.
There was an incident with an individual at the holding cells at MRPD.
What exactly happened?
From my recollection, sir, and it is a hazy recollection, I had walked in on a number of other officers that were attempting to question an incredibly unruly member of the civilian population at MRPD.
A citizen, yes,
And once I came upon this, I realized what was happening. I directed my officers to act in a professional manner, and I left to tend to other matters of law, sir.
And what exactly was the reasoning for you to be restricted from your job? What'd you do wrong?
The fact that I did not stand up for that individual and do a better job in protecting the rights of an individual that is presumed to be innocent at that time, sir.
So what happened was you saw a cop doing something wrong, and you didn't really put your foot down. You walked away and let him do that wrong thing.
Your Honor, leading.
I'm just clarifying. This is a clarification.
Answer the question, Mr. McLean.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that I was seeing officers do something incorrectly at the time. What I would say is that I could have kept myself at the scene longer to ensure that this individual was processed in a manner that is upholding the pledge and the badge of the city, sir.
Neglect. Okay. Yeah. No more questions, John.
You may step down, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Miller, do you have a closing statement before we move on?
Your Honor, ADA Morse will be giving our closing statement.
Your Honor, tonight I want to remind you of the burden of proof. As of now, there is no proof and there is no evidence to prove so. In the past, Mr. Vercetti has been known to steal, incite fear, and distribute drugs on multiple occasions. How exactly do we go to say that a member of the public with a list of charges as big as he has to trust with the record of doing these exact crimes he claims not to be doing? At the end of the night, Your Honor, not noticing something as heavy as 100 grams of meth being planted on him during the scene seems heinous or unreasonable. With these finishing statements, I would like to remind you that no evidence or proof has been given other than simple speculation, and to assume something as bad as corruption is to come with this speculation and to be prosecuted on such statements does not seem fair. These officers have been in the force for many, many months now, and have been known to put their life on the line for the public on a daily basis. Corruption in no means is taken lightly and can completely tarnish the reputation of a government-ranking official.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I completely agree with the prosecutors on this one. There is a burden of proof that they have to put onto Mr. Vercetti. Yes, Mr. Vercetti has been caught guilty before. That is not in question. What is not in question is the corruption of the police. That is up to them to internally investigate. Our argument is that Mr. Tommy was falsely prosecuted with a lack of information. As we can see, that there were six police officers there.
Scoped out the scene.
6 police officers there, and 2 of them only provide body cam, one of them's corrupted. On top of it, one of the 6 that barely showed up today has said that he has been sat down for neglecting citizens while other police take advantage of him. That seems like a causal and a chain of events that's most unfortunate from Mr. Tommy, who's been trying to turn around his misdoings and misguidance and working for the mayor. And as we have shown is that he was a employee of the mayorship, so he was there on terms of the mayor, and that they have not proven within reasonable doubt that that was actually on Mr. Tommy. All we get is clips of body cam of immediately when he gets searched, not nothing that happens before with all them police there. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm gonna take a couple minutes to think about this. It is a tough case. I will be back in a couple minutes.
They're all fucking scumbags, I swear to God.
Good job, guys. Good job. Look, hey, Tommy, if you want to go somewhere else, I mean, he's gonna. I don't want him to get angry and attack you again or something.
It's okay.
So.
We put a brace on his hand.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that you guys feel safe, around him and everything.
They made me say my whole name, Mr. Tommy.
Look, I'm gonna forget I heard that. Okay.
Don't ever say it again. I'll fucking don't do it.
Stop yelling at us, please, from across the courtroom. That'd be lovely.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I think maybe you should go take a phone call about back.
Oh, all right.
You ready? Are you whispering? Can you hear me?
Okay, I think we got this.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, burden of proof is on that.
Tom, I can't hear you. Take a take.
I mean, I think Vercetti's so whacked out of his mind on drugs that he probably had it on his person the whole time. That's what I think.
Nothing. Speak up. I can hear me, but I can't hear you. Yes.
Hey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How you doing?
Are you whispering?
Yeah.
Okay. I love you.
I love you. But we gotta know when. Mwah.
When the decision's made, of course.
Okay.
Apollo.
We're gonna know what to say, right?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, that's true.
What are we doing?
was gonna say, you think Tommy gained some weight? He looks a little pudgy.
Just
Hey,
if
you
she,
hear this guy talking over there?
Yeah.
That guy's
yeah.
talking about my
think
fucking
she
weight. You
should
hear
feel
this
pretty
cocksucker?
somewhat. Did you guys
This
see his
motherfucker
middle
over
name?
there. You hear this?
Come on.
Gertrude.
Yeah, it's Gertrude. Imagine your middle name
If she
was
says that they
Gertrude.
win, it's that time.
God, what a joke.
Yeah, exactly. But now what are we doing?
You'll see. I'll lead it.
I bet you Mr.
All right, I was
Bakersfield
gonna
is
say
the
because
Gerber baby.
yeah,
You hear him
we need to
talking
let him
over
know.
there?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
how the mighty have
These
fallen.
motherfuckers is trying to get in our goddamn heads over there. They know they're doing wrong.
Let's get back by the
They know
seats.
they're assholes, cocksucker
It's
motherfuckers.
okay.
All right, bastards.
No, we do. We got this. It's done for. Fine.
Do you think
Oh
he
my
was the
God, look,
Gerber?
he's
He was
giving us
probably
the
the
finger.
Gerber baby too.
Don't you fucking do it, Tommy. Don't you fucking do it. I'm gonna have to look away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You hearing?
If he
You hearing
flips
him?
us off,
You hearing
I
him?
don't-
You
Can
hearing
we
him?
still
He's
add
all
this to
pissed
the
off
record?
over there. Yeah, I wonder if we could. Wonder.
Oh, they can't hear me. I'm
Yeah,
whispering.
don't yell. Don't yell.
Fucking scumbag.
Do you think Bakersfield wears adult diapers?
Swear it, motherfucker.
He definitely wears
This
adult diapers. What
cocksucker,
do
you
you
know what
guys
I'm
think?
saying?
He's gonna get his.
I mean, that's what that.
Breathe,
that
breathe,
weight
Peter.
in the back,
Goosha.
too.
I know. It's definitely not
That's
So-
right. We're changed
We
men,
know
Pete.
he's not doing
We're
squats.
changed men.
But we're
He's been
definitely
holding it a
changed.
long time.
I'm telling you,
Ain't
guy,
this
I'm a
shit as
changed
can
man.
be?
I'm a changed fucking man.
Nothing wrong. We never do nothing wrong.
We should have kept the mayor in this house. His court date's next. We don't work for the mayor.
Oh, Madon.
We're supposed to protect everyone. Doesn't mean we work for. I do
They
not
sure
work.
didn't protect you, Tom.
Yeah, they didn't protect me for shit. You see my finger?
I woke up in
That's
the
just-
hospital after that.
Yeah, you got a fucking plane in your head,
Protect.
Day.
That's what
Protect
happens,
more
Mr.
like body
Bakersfield, if
shield.
You take too much Viagra.
More like a body shield. This guy fucking bullet in his head.
You tend to wake up in the hospital.
If only
okay, bud?
the rookies had more Viagra, they might have put their dongs in a way, and I wouldn't have had a metal plate in my head.
He's not even making any sense.
Oh, he keeps talking about a plate.
Is this guy talking about sense over there? He couldn't rub 2 cents together to make a nickel. You fucking guy.
Oh, that's a good one. I gotta write that down.
Speaking of the Gambettis.
Saint. Nickel.
Yeah, you like that one? That was a good one.
That's a really good one.
Hey, Peter.
What
You
do
guys
you
like the
want, Mr.
Gambettis?
Man? Who?
You guys like the Gambettis?
I don't know
Mr.
who that
Bettis?
is. Is that a
Who was
special
that?
type of sandwich?
Okay, oh, don't talk to me. That's fine, Peter.
Okay, Peter.
Okay, Gertrude.
These guys.
You mother.
Special kind of sandwich.
This cocksucker's really going in
Stop
for it
breathing.
today, huh? Take it easy. Take it easy. It's okay.
Breathing.
Yes, you're allowed to come over here.
Usa is right, my guy.
Isn't that
Usa
the
is
lady
right.
Mr. Johnny fell in love with and he really wants to kiss and hug?
Yeah, I think it is.
No, they'd be
I
cute
wonder if he was
together.
here. I was gonna say if he was here, that'd
You
be
seem to have
interesting.
a torrid past. So, anyways, can we rewind on the conversation with you and Morris, please? That's actually.
Oh,
very
you know
interesting to
what?
me.
You know what? Mr. Bakersfield, I think we should put aside our differences for 30 seconds to talk about Chris Moore's and St. Clair's relationship.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Johnny would love to make it a love triangle.
Mr. Johnny's better, anyways.
You know what? You can stay over there, Peter. Okay, we're gonna gossip over here.
See, now they know about a secret lover. What are they gonna do now?
I hear
It's
Mr. Moore.
actually a
I hear
square.
Mr.
Bob
Moore sleeps
Ramerson's in
around.
there, too.
Sleeps around a lot.
Oh shit!
I heard his nickname is Mr. Clayton.
Where's the fucking bush?
Where's she going now? She's going to call Johnny?
See, she just stood next to him, and I think she caught something.
Absolutely. She's going to
Oh,
call
no, it's 'cause
Johnny
you
now.
said something about Johnny.
Yeah.
I thought that's what she said when she ran out the door. She was going to call Johnny. Oh,
Ooh, What was that? Excuse me.
Was that with your broken finger, Mr. Vercetti?
I mean, did you want to see that?
That's quite
I give
okay.
it to
You
you
should
all
learn how to
day, huh?
close the
You
car
sure?
door, Mr. Vercetti.
Yeah, close the car door, yeah? Close it. Dirty
Put that away.
bastards.
Careful, he didn't try to rip it off just then.
Yeah, I
For the
know,
record,
right?
Mr.
I
Vercetti,
can hardly
I'm a
fucking
big
hold the
fan of
thing
the
up
suit.
nowadays. It's fucking. I
It's
need
incredible.
Viagra for my finger.
What the?
Can't even give nobody the
You
finger
know you're
anymore.
supposed to buy dogs chew toys, not give them your fingers.
Yeah, so put your fucking dog on a leash. Give it a new name,
No,
because
I don't-
McLean's
no.
kind of weird.
You have a dog? I don't have a dog.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't have dogs.
Fucking
The
dog.
one that barks a
over
lot
there.
in the corner over
Are you
Yeah,
calling or
the one over there.
Are you calling an officer a dog, Mr. Vercetti? That's
He's
rude.
he's an animal. I raise myself.
Barks
Very
like one.
professional, Tommy. Very
Rubs his
professional.
ass on the carpet like one.
he
That's,
showing his
I
fucking
mean,
finger
might
to
as
us
well
again?
be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, look away from us, Tommy. Look away. That's what I
Are you
thought.
getting
Smell
older
of
than
this
that,
guy. I got a
Peter?
good
You
old
You know
getting
it's
age.
gonna
strong?
smell so good, Mr. Tommy, that $500,000 we're gonna get.
Absolutely. For all this corruption and nonsense that we're dealing with. This falsely accused fucking 100 bags of meth.
It was a brick, Tommy.
Here's a fucking bunch of bags.
Well,
You
there's no
lying
body cams
cocksuckers,
to
these
actually see it, I
motherfuckers.
guess.
Exactly. If they had the one from the cell, they'd see
It was
These filthy
corrupted, Mr.
bastards.
Tommy. It was corrupted.
I know it.
He
Did
did
he
give him a
change
tax
the
back.
claim?
did.
What the fuck?
We're not doing that. We're not doing that. No, we don't want to know what Peter carries around with him. I'm pretty sure he's a VIP at Puto's sex shop.
It's a good place, man.
Old poders.
Look, I showed up there the other week, and they told me they were out of vibrators because of Peter.
Hey, is those the one that you put on his lawn?
Well, if you duct tape them to like 20 of them to a dog, they can't even walk straight. It's pretty funny.
That's bad, Pete. Isn't that
What?
animal cruelty? I mean, yeah. I mean, if it's your dog, it's all good.
If you tape them on the undercarriage of a car, people think the car's broken too.
I was gonna say they're gonna go to the mechanic shop all the time. Guys are gonna get work.
You know how many times Mr. Jackie's found one of them vibrators in my intake valve?
Did you run somebody over with a vibrator in their pocket? No.
No.
You've been driving through the sand at the beach.
I'm sure just one of those was like Mr. McLean just a little bit, huh? One night.
Don't have anger issues.
Oh yeah,
I
he'd
get
definitely go
heated.
sit on
Just a
that.
couple vibrators and he'd be a new
I'm
man.
passionate.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
passionate.
He'd feel good about himself.
Passionate, man.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1,
Is
2,
that is he
3.
counting how many vibrators he
He's
wants?
counting how many he's got, guy. You heard it first.
Understandable.
That's literally why I have a badge.
Sometimes he has a badge. Sometimes they take it away.
You two are both very monotone.
You hear that, Tom? He neglected a citizen and let police
He's
beat
neglected.
him.
What's that? What a big word he said? That shit was crazy. The one McLean said.
I don't know, so big it sounded like
Oh fuck. Yeah.
jumping through a
dictionary
loophole.
stuff.
I think that was the name of it.
Hey, did he just text me?
I don't even like
Pretty
it
sure
when
he
Tommy
just
says
texted
my
me.
fucking name. Oh my god, it's like sullying the name of mine. God damn it.
Okay, at least you know your partner in crime doesn't misspell your name on a daily basis.
I would never.
No.
No, she's talking about me. St. Clair.
It's not Saint Clair. It's
St. Clair.
Sinclair.
What's the difference between saint and sin, by the way?
Which side of the fucking
Hey, he's gonna need it.
I know.
Yeah, they're gonna need it over there.
Everyone else keeps hearing helicopters.
They're all gonna
These
need.
guys
They're all gonna have to
fucking
go
lack
to
of body
Saturday
cams.
train. That's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah. Start using the
Oh,
collecting the
oh,
right cam footage. Oh, excuse me.
Thank y'all for waiting and being patient. So this was a tough case. Bear with me as I explain the reasons behind my verdict. I watched all the evidence provided by both parties. I watched Officer McLean's body cam. Sadly, it only showed several officers stalling the entrance of both Mr. Bakersfield and Mr. Vercetti. It does not show the moment they were patted down. Mr. Burroughs' body cam shows the arrest, but it doesn't show him planting anything on Mr. Vercetti. However, the other officer on the scene was Officer Rockefeller, whose body cam was corrupted. The whole purpose of this trial was for Mr. Rossetti to prove LSPD could have had the opportunity to plant drugs on Mr. Rossetti. PD's procedure when arresting Mr. Rossetti was completely wrong since the arrest. According to the PD report, it was approved by the supervising officer, Eduardo Chupador. However, when I questioned him during the hearing, he denied knowing about it. Furthermore, Mr. Rossetti was not charged with any possession of drugs on the day of his arrest, which leaves me with reasonable doubt that this could have indeed happened. Mr. Miller and Mr. Morse both have affirmed that PD makes mistakes. It makes me think that both of you are not sure about what happened on that day or if mistakes were made. In this particular scenario, I believe there could have been a lack of communication between supervising officers. Having said that, on the other hand, Mr. Rossetti couldn't prove to this court that PD is corrupt. Their case was based on officers' body cam, and they show no action of planting drugs on Mr. Rossetti. Hence, this case is dismissed due to lack of proof on both parts. However, it's embarrassing on LSPD's side not maintaining proper protocol when arresting people. The lack of communication and organization is appalling. I'm fining LSPD with $250K that will be paid to the city of Los Santos. This case is closed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Please make the payment to um, myself or Miss Sinclair here, and the money will be returned to the city of LSPD.
Yes or no?
Your Honor,
I
I have to
hope
talk
that
to.
after what
You want to
what
go?
has happened here today, Mr.
Yeah.
Miller,
Alright.
LSPD
Just wait a
take the
second.
time to rethink their
Let's see it.
organization, to rethink their procedures, and do a better job when writing reports. This was embarrassing to watch. I hope that changes.
Say banana and I go.
Good evening.
Banana.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Banana, banana, banana. Banana. Banana, banana, banana.